Three, two, one,
go.
Okay. How's the audio, chat? Is everything okay?
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, we are talking Tracey. Tracey Richter. You know those people who just kind of,
Oh my god, Ray, she just
make your
looks
skin
evil.
crawl. You just see them and you're just kind of like,
Oh.
even though they seem like, you know,
He said,
grand,
"Ugh."
nice folk. This is one of those. It is to Early, Iowa that we shall go. I mean, it's set in modern day. The town's called Early, so, you know. And we will learn all about the character, and she was quite the character. That is, still is, Tracey Richter. So, do you, like, want to give it a go?
The case of Tracey Richter.
Tracey Richter.
To Early, Iowa we go. And what can I say about Early, Iowa? Not much.
Where is Iowa?
It is a community of under 1,000 people, mostly working in agriculture, like, you know, like we recently talked about Todd Mullis. Same kind of stuff, really. Mostly farmers and, you know, that kind of stuff, everybody knowing each other's beeswax. Tight-knit. So then, when on one evening in December 2001, shots rang out in the home of a family of 5, well, that tends to get noticed. I think it would be noticed anywhere, to be fair. That's when, you know, the usually unlocked doors of the houses in Early went...
Somebody came in the house, and they tied her up, and they were choking her. Like, my mom got the gun and shot the other one ran off.
There had been
That
a
was one of the
break-in,
kids.
shots fired, and
Yeah.
a body bag needed. The home was of the Roberts family, made up of Michael, Tracey, maiden name Richter,
Ooh,
Bert
captions.
from Tracey's previous marriage, and then boy Noah and girl Mason.
That's Tracey.
When
That's
the
her.
police
Oh.
and EMTs
She's so
arrived,
scary.
they entered
Wow.
the scene
Freaking
scary.
crying and screaming. Tracy and the children were safe, thankfully. The man of the house, Michael, he happened to be out of town. And, well, on the floor was a familiar face. It was 20-year-old Dustin Weedy, a neighbor
20?
of the Robert family. He had been shot 9 times, and he was beyond saving at this stage. Tracey, in shock, was taken to the hospital for breathing difficulties, but she was able to
Also,
tell the
9
police
times is overkill.
that she'd been
Yeah,
attacked by
for
intruders and that she'd been choked out with a pantyhose.
Oh my god,
So,
her throat.
like, what the hell? Dustin, he had a really good relationship with the Roberts. He would cut their grass for them, they would go to church together. So was he there to protect the Roberts from intruders, or was he one of the intruders?
The 9 shots,
latter,
though,
according
4
to Tracy
shots,
from her
it's
hospital
like,
bed.
let me
There
make
were
sure
2
you're dead.
men that
9
broke
shots
in.
is like,
One
I hate
was
you,
Dustin,
I hate you, I hate you.
and the
Yeah,
other,
that sounds quite
Tracy,
personal.
you know, didn't know him. He was a stranger, but she was able to give a description to the police. And they never asked for money, even though, you know, when they were choking her and attacking her, there was expensive jewelry, about 20, 30 grand worth of jewelry all over the house. They weren't interested. Tracy said to the police that it seemed like they were there for her. She managed to grab a gun and shoot Dustin in self-defense to protect her and her children's lives. The other guy, he fled the scene and police
Okay, wait,
put
can we
out
pause really
warnings.
quick?
Yes.
Pause. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a reoccurring theme that you might have also seen in some of the JCS videos. There's the Michael Dunn one in particular, and also the one where the guy shot the guy in the parking lot because they were in the handicap space.
Yes.
These people do this thing where they think they're in an action movie. And when they're talking to the police, they almost brag about their gun skills, how they would kill people. Like, I think I'm going to like spoil it in this one. But at one point, Tracey starts talking about how she was dual wielding pistols while she defended her home. It's like the stories
Like
get
they're
more...
like they're proud of what they've done, and it kind of like seeps out a little bit.
Yeah, but these are usually the people that have always envisioned killing somebody in a righteous manner, like having the ultimate amount of power over somebody and doing it real cool. They're in this fantasy world where they think they're like in an action movie. And those people terrify me. They absolutely terrify me. It's like they use human lives for their own validation almost.
Whoa.
Yeah, somebody saying that they had pistols akimbo during a home invasion. Like, come on, dude. Okay, Sorry, we can dive back in.
Oh, okay. 349?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
And Tracey? Hero. Mama Lion, you're prepared to defend her cubs. Kitty got claws. What a brave woman, you know? Tracey was discharged from hospital after a few days. Husband Michael rushing back to her side. And the family had pre-organized the trip to Australia, where her husband Michael was originally from. So off they went.
We're still looking at several different areas. Again, we still have no clue who that second party was in the house that night.
Now, while they were, down under, the investigation continued. I mean, they had Tracey's story and it seems to kind of match up, but they just needed to, cross the T's, dot the I's. And, well, a couple of things didn't exactly jive with self-defense, really. There were 9 wounds on Dustin's body, like 9 bullet holes, from 2 different guns. 3 of them were to the head, and the angle was from above.
like submit,
okay,
yeah,
that's interesting.
execution
Tracy,
style almost.
She had her story and she was sticking to it. Her truth, if you will. Hey, that's my truth. You better believe it, sucker. Her truth, not the truth. Not long after the murder, Tracey went to visit the publisher of the Storm Lake Times, a local paper, and was like, all right, I got a good one to tell you. She was mad to tell her story to anyone and everyone who would listen, I guess I am kind of a hero, haven't I? And she told exactly what happened.
Oh
God, here we go.
Dude,
On
my
the
mom is
13th
watching
of
your stream
December,
and not
at
mine
4
right
PM,
now.
Justin popped over. He
Hello,
lived very close by.
Mom.
She said she never
Mama
felt comfortable with
Boze.
him around, but, he was just hanging out. She was saved by a friend not long after who arrived, and then Dustin left. However, the friend, Marie, she was supposed to stay the
Also, why
night.
did she
Both their
text me
husbands
that?
were out of
She
town
just
on
texted me,
business,
I am watching
but due to some
Valkyrae.
problems and some baseball scheduling
That's so
with her son
troll.
Bert, blah blah blah, her friend left.
Hey, Mama.
Then, that same day, the 13th, at 6 p.m., Tracey was bathing the youngest, daughter Mason. She heard a noise downstairs.
So this is
She
her
thought,
version of events.
Michael home early from his business trip, maybe? Nope, it was Dustin and some other guy, and they were pounding up the stairs. She ran with the baby and managed to put all the kids in the same room and lock the door before she was dragged away by her ponytail. They grabbed her and she tried to run to the gun safe, but she was choked out by pantyhose and went unconscious. She awoke to her kids screaming, the 2 intruders outside trying to kick the door in. Tracey was fucked hazy, her specky's gone.
Not the speckies.
But then,
Specky.
her Richter sense kicked in and she, cool as a cucumber, went to the gun safe, tried to unlock it after failing multiple times, and the 2 intruders obviously didn't give a shit. Then she managed to get the gun out. Whack, whack, whack. She then got the other one, have some of that. She started blasting. Didn't take long, Dustin was dead on the floor, the other guy fled.
Like, how can you tell that story to investigators and think they're gonna believe it?
Yeah,
like, how?
it just seems
person
so
who's still
unbelievable.
out there, and as a mother, I have a natural instinct to want to protect my children.
And son Bert backed up everything Tracey said about what happened. Though, as we will learn about Bert, he loved his mother a lot.
Got the bat out and I was holding it. Somebody ran in my room.
I'm just
put my
curious,
bat
like,
up and they opened the
how
door,
she
but
got
it was
the
my mom,
choke
and I nearly
bruise.
hit her, but we missed. I mean, I didn't.
Probably put the pantyhose
She
around
had,
her
like,
neck.
pantyhose
That's
around
what
her
I'm
neck, so
thinking.
I didn't
Yeah.
get it untied.
To make it look believable or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was her story. Buy her a beer. I mean, that was her story kind of for a bit, because maybe it'll change slightly. Let's learn a little bit more about T-Dog, Tracey Richter. Her backstory, there's a lot in it, and we will learn that the shooting of Dustin Weedy was just the latest in a long line of instances.
Ooh, can we pause really quick?
Tracey,
Yes.
she was just
Okay, something you might have learned from JCS, especially the Jennifer Pan one. Basically, what detectives do after something like this happens, they're even if like somebody's a suspect. So let's say Tracy's a suspect. They're gonna sit down with her. They're gonna be super nice to her, get water, drink, just whatever she needs, and they just need her side of the story. Exactly. And then the next time around, they're gonna start inquiring about some of the holes in the story, and so then she's forced to change the story after that. And then the third time around, they did that to Jennifer Penn. That's when they go for the big push. So they try to talk to these people and get as many details as possible. So when she tells this dumbass story, they're just like, okay.
Yeah, they're going to use it against her, right?
Exactly.
Like, they can find holes in it for sure.
And then you can use that to discredit them when you actually go to trial. Because another thing is, these people can get away with this stuff. Casey Anthony is walking free. So they want to collect as much stuff as possible. And to prove that you lied to interrogators 2, 3, 4 times, that's going to discredit you so hard. So it's really good.
True.
Okay. All right. Okay, sorry. 3, 2, 1,
go.
Just, always up to no good.
Everyone's calling
Tracey
you a
was
five-head.
born in May 1966 in
expert.
Chicago. She grew into a pretty smart girl, so much so that she got a scholarship to study radiography. It was while studying that she met John Pittman III in 1987, and John fell head over heels for her. John was studying to be a doctor, and the two hit it off so well that they soon were engaged. The couple moved to Denver, where John started his residency, and the Pittman family lived nearby too. Tracey was just everything that John was looking for, in a woman. Kind of weirdly so, to be honest. She was sharing all the interests John had. But as soon as the I do's were exchanged in 1988, Tracey changed. And she changed John to an extent. See, what happened was, John's parents, they lived nearby, and when one day, both of his parents, their credit cards were stolen, right? And thousands were spent. Well, investigating, all signs pointed to Tracey. But John, no way, Jose, which then led to him kind of being separated, divided from the rest of his own family. John was then all Tracey's. All Tracey's when he was around. He was a doctor. He worked about 120 hours a week, which in turn then led to fractures between him and Tracey, and fights erupted all the time. One time they had a fight that escalated to the point where Tracey went upstairs, got a handgun, walked downstairs, pointed it at John. John said, "Fuck this," and he ran outside.
That is not normal behavior.
Wow. Yeah, that is
and then
psycho.
Tracey walked out, apologized, and said she had tried to kill herself. John then called the police, just to be on the safe side.
If someone pulled out a gut, like
Tracey
someone I
was
knew,
charged with the discharge of a
I'd be out of
firearm
there.
and sent for a 6-month
that is
psychological
so
treatment.
beyond. Yeah.
Not long after, the couple had a Band-Aid baby, Bert, born in
Band-Aid
1990,
baby.
hoping this would help the marriage, but nope, nothing really changed for poor John and poor Bert.
Not Bert.
But John, he had a feeling Tracey wanted to increase his life insurance policy. Okay, odd. And he worked long hours, so Tracey would be, she could be up to anything when he was not around. So John hired a private investigator to, have a go at her. Tracey was busy. She just liked dudes. Like a lot of dudes. Some, were up to no good.
Was she cheating?
In 1992, John eventually moved the family again, this time to Chicago. Tracey was off the walls at this point. During the process of the move, their 3 dogs and 4 cats somehow got sold to an experimental lab. Tracey was responsible for organizing the pet moving. And then the last straw broke the camel's hump. This is some scary shit. One day, while at work, John got a call from Tracey. She was like, "Listen, I need to talk to you. Let's meet at the apartment." John said okay. Not long after that, he got a call from the private detective who was tailing Tracey. John tells the private detective Tracey wants to meet up.
That private detective was watching Tracey.
The
She was the one fondling those dudes.
That's not a very good, smart,
yeah.
you're a doctor idea. Because their apartment was on the east side, and the PI was tailing Tracey west. John wisely didn't go back to the apartment, even when Tracey called him saying, "I'm here now, where are you?" After that, the marriage was over. Who knows what was waiting for John back in his apartment? Maybe a lollipop. The divorce was finalized in 1996, but the shitstorm was not over. The custody battle for young Bert was on. Tracey would accuse John Pittman of sexual abuse, child abuse, all that. The accusations were, found to be what they were, false. And it was also
so
learned that
manipulative.
Tracey had forged John's signature on the life insurance document, so, well, hey. In the end, though, Tracey got Bert, and John had to pay her thousands of dollars per month in child support. Not long after, Tracey met someone online, Aussie entrepreneur Michael Roberts. They hit it off. I mean, like, really, really hit it off. 18 days after they first met face-to-face, they were married. Michael would move from Australia
She's
to
laying it on
America
thick,
permanently.
okay? That's
'cause he
love
was
bombing if I ever
He was
heard
just
it.
crocky
What?
about Tracey. You can probably tell where this is gonna go. A few months in, trouble was
Whenever I
once
see a
again
picture of her,
brewing.
I'm like, ah!
Tracey
Yeah,
cheated.
scary.
However, he stuck with her and stood by her through the custody battles with John. Michael Roberts had only, one opinion of John Pittman, an opinion molded by Tracey. Around the same time, Tracey was busy. She was always up to something. She also managed to accuse a dentist, a former boyfriend, Joseph Laspisa, of sexual assaults. She accused him that one time while she was under, he was doing all that. Basically, she woke up and he was wanking on top of her. And she tried to sue him for $150,000. Even at this early stage, Tracey proved to be not the most believable person, but this still cost him his livelihood. So, right, eventually Michael and Tracey, the Roberts, they moved to the town of Early, Iowa. Why? In 1998. The last, decade, really, pretty busy for Tracey. She didn't really like wasting much time, so I guess when they moved, maybe Michael was hoping, well, maybe, there's not much she can get up to in Early, maybe that'll calm her down. Boy, was he wrong. Soon after the move, they welcomed their first child together, a boy, and then in 2000, a girl. They set up their own business, an IT company, and became part of the community and the church. They were well liked by the people
Dude,
of
I
Early.
literally have a blanket. I get so
Everything was
cozy watching
picturesque
these.
Yeah.
on the surface. Anyway.
I would too, but my room
And
is
then
so
came that
hot. But I
fatal
love wearing
evening
sweaters.
of December the 13th, 2001, when Tracey Richter, Tracey Roberts, became a hero. She became a hero for killing neighborhood boy Dustin Weedy.
Yeah, no one else
Dustin was a quiet
sad.
kid, loved computers. He was a loner, gentle, but not someone you would think would do what he had done.
What happened?
She tried to discredit him by saying that, well...
So now we're
I
back
guess
to late
we'll see.
2001. Michael, as I said, he rushed back to be at Tracey's side. He even offered a $10,000 reward for information on who Tracey, who was this other guy who broke into the house with Dustin. But Michael, he was shocked that this happened. He considered Dustin a friend. Why would he do this? Tracey said, that this didn't seem like it was about money, that it seemed like they were there for her. This was just murder. But why, Maybe there really just is nothing to do in Early, or maybe somebody put them up to it. What if Dustin had been hired to kill her? This was a contract killing. He mentioned this to Tracey. What about that dentist, Joseph Laspisa? There was a court case coming up about her accusing him of sexual assault. Maybe he wanted her gone. Tracey said, that's good, but I got one better. I know who this was. I know who put Dustin up to this. Ex-husband John Pittman,
No.
her nemesis.
Dude, oh my
See,
god,
Dustin's
she's
car had
spinning
been parked
a
outside
web.
the Richter home. He was just, popping in to kill her.
So
Just
many
take a
men
second.
involved.
Inside Dustin's car, they found a pink notebook. In the notebook, Dustin wrote of a mysterious fellow, named John Pittman, who had hired him to kill Tracey and 11-year-old Bert. Now, it was written in Dustin's handwriting, so, okay, it was him, but, what? Dustin and John,
Tracy had a
would never
gun to
have
that
met.
man's head and made him write that
And
note.
even if they had somehow met, why would John Pittman hire Dustin, a 20-year-old loner computer kid, to kill his ex-wife? Doesn't make sense at all. The police thought the story smelt like shit, but Tracey, she was sticking to that story. Tracey was happily pointing the finger at her ex-husband, John Pittman, and everybody lapped that up. The media, she even appeared on the Montel Williams show.
What?
Unfortunately, don't have a clip.
Wow.
Well, the police just thought everything was very fishy, and none of this added up. Eventually, though, you know, there wasn't really enough to go on, and it was closed as a self-defense shooting, you know, case closed. Tracey stayed married to Michael, and life went on. But as you know, you've seen so far in the story, it won't stay boring for very long.
Justice for Michael!
Justice!
Justice!
Roughly a year after the shooting, on Thanksgiving Day 2002, a man was discovered unresponsive at a graveyard near Early. It was Brett Weedy, Dustin Weedy's father.
What?
He had shot himself by his son's final resting place. He left a note saying his heart was broken after Dustin's death,
Oh, that's
and he cried
so
every day.
sad.
That makes me so
More
sad.
tragedy for the Weedy family. Well, they wouldn't roll over.
Ew,
In late
sorry.
2003, they filed a wrongful death suit against Tracey. It was dismissed, however, in 2005.
It was
In the meantime,
dismissed.
Michael and Tracey's marriage went south. Tracey had more affairs, they fought, same old story. She kicked and punched holes into walls. Of course, Michael, you know, would be the one ending up in police custody after these fights, where Tracey would come to his rescue, you know, taking him back from the police, taking him home. where
Dude,
the
that's
cycle
crazy.
can
Getting your
continue
husband
again.
arrested and then being
Michael,
the person to
after
bail
time,
him
out.
believed his time was running
God.
out as long as he was with Tracey. He thought on multiple times she came very close to ending him. Around that same time, Michael began to severely doubt Tracey's version of events during the Dustin Weedy shooting, and he went to speak with the investigators.
He said that we had no, other than her statement,
Sure.
no indication that there ever was a second guy.
Haven't you got forensics to back that up?
Not yet.
Really?
Absolutely nothing.
See, I don't know whether to believe you guys or not.
They ran fingerprints, no straight fingerprints to indicate a second guy.
In 2004, Michael, like John, had enough. He filed for divorce. In the meantime, Tracey, of course, accused him of abuse, of child abuse, of being just a horrible person. She's not even original. Like, this is exactly what she accused John of doing and being. But this time, Tracey had another trick up her sleeve. The attack. Tracey went to the police. Ooh, actually, it wasn't John behind the attack. It was Michael. Michael, who just so happened to be out of town when it happened.
Oh my gosh, she's
What more do you need?
crazy.
Tracy told the
Yeah.
police that Michael, he talks in his
Honestly,
sleep.
kicking a
Get a
hole in
load
the
of this, and
refrigerator
he
was
just
enough
spilled
for
the
me.
beans. He told her
Mhm.
everything,
What the heck?
while he was asleep. There you go. He confessed. She would tell anybody who would listen that Michael was responsible for the attack. He's the one who put Dustin and this other intruder up to it, and that he was a crazy person. He was crazy. In 2007, the divorce was finalized. Tracey, despite Michael's best efforts, got the kids. From there, Tracey took the kids to Omaha, Nebraska. Michael, he moved not too far away, to try and be close to his children. He would end up needing a restraining order against Tracey. See, Tracey was gonna ride him the entire way. She went to the sheriff, right, in 2009 and had a picture of Dustin's body. She said Michael planted it in her car. He was trying to drive her crazy. Now, Michael was cleared. The sheriff's office found no supporting anything against Michael, and they thought that Tracey Richter was trying to make reports against him because there was upcoming child support proceedings. They were looming, and she was basically just trying to screw him over. Tracey, seeing that the police weren't interested in basically nailing Michael Roberts to the wall, she told the lead detective that he had, and I quote, made her list, so better watch out. Around this time, she'd also get convicted of welfare fraud and
What?
get probation. Now, this is
Didn't
kind
she
of
steal
a weird part,
$150,000
but
earlier?
bear
Like,
with me.
come on.
Around this time, talking about 2010, Tracey Richter changed her name from Tracey Richter to Sophia Therese Corina Baronin Edwards.
Huh?
She was living under that name. Her
Okay.
business was under that name, and she also went around town with a British accent,
Oh my god.
which I'm sure was hilarious. Just bizarre. So while she was, busy trying to frame ex-husband number 2, Michael Roberts, for anything and everything she absolutely could, Booker shot Kennedy, a new prosecutor entered the picture and reopened the shooting of Dustin Weedy. New things were discovered. Namely, Dustin had been shot in the back of the head while laying on the floor. This was not self-defense. This was murder. Also, there were no signs of forced entry. The Roberts, unlike neighbors, they did lock their doors, but their doors weren't busted in. They also entered without weapons. This entire scene
Somebody said
did make
British in
sense.
Iowa?
And on the 27th of July 2011, Tracey Richter was arrested for the murder of Dustin Weedy.
Yesterday, Iowa law enforcement arrested 45-year-old Tracey Ann Richter Roberts for the 2001 death of 20-year-old Dustin Weedy in early Iowa. Richter Roberts is charged with murder in the first degree of Class A felony, and she is currently being held in the Douglas County Jail in Omaha, Nebraska.
A mother of 3 is jailed for murder tonight in Omaha.
For a shooting that happened a decade ago in central Iowa. Take a look at Tracey Richter Roberts. Her ex-husband gave us this picture. In 2001, she told investigators that she shot a home invader.
Well, now the Sac County Sheriff's Office says new evidence proves otherwise.
Investigators believe the shooting was premeditated murder.
She's a divorced mother of 3, recently engaged. Now, Tracey Richter Roberts is a murder suspect. 10 years ago, she told authorities she killed Dustin Weedy in self-defense at her home in early Iowa. Now investigators believe she planned the killing herself.
But
It was
why
obvious that
did she do this?
She made every attempt to think things out, and was very calculating and
People like this
how
scare
she,
me, man.
handled all her affairs.
The arrest complaint says Richter Roberts deliberately shot 20-year-old Dustin Weedy with 2 separate handguns, and that a piece of evidence was found in Weedy's car following the murder. Investigators believe she manufactured and planted that same evidence in Weedy's car to make him look like a home invader. The sheriff says only investigators and Richter Roberts know the details of that evidence.
Richter Roberts accused her ex-husband and father of her children of planting a crime scene photo from that Iowa murder in her car, she said, to make her look bad at a custody hearing. Well, the whole story raised red flags for investigators.
He just had a hunch that, that there was just something not right.
Richter Roberts' family, including her brother, who's a police detective in Chicago, stand by her story that 2 intruders almost beat her to death.
We know what happened. We love her very much. She defended her family. How do you set that up? I mean, it just sounds ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous.
Funnily enough, and weirdly enough, when they arrested her, Tracey had in her possession more name change, like documents. She was going to change her name again. This time, it would be Heidi Joanna Frostbacher, right? Unusual name, interesting. Where'd that come from? I hear you're barking, big dog. So get a load of this, right? Heidi Frostbacher just so happened to be the same name as Michael Roberts, his new wife. So, what are the
That's
odds?
weird. Was she trying to like commit fraud or just parading around as her?
What is happening?
What's the goal, Tracey?
For what reason?
There are a number of matters.
This is a literal Black Widow.
Yeah.
The trial of Tracey Richter began on the 24th of October, 2011. This is what the prosecution said happened.
The evidence in this case will show that the defendant did not want to lose physical custody to Dr. Pittman of her. Will show that the defendant did not like Dr. Pittman. She had a strong dislike for Dr. Pittman. So the defendant came up with a plan to make it look like Dr. Pittman was involved in hiring Dustin Weedy to hurt her. Dustin Weedy was at her house on December 13th. There is a pink spiral notebook that he's writing in. The pink spiral notebook will contain information. It appears to make it look like a journal, although there's no dates. And in the information in that pink spiral notebook, it will show that Dustin's writing, Dustin claims that Dr. Pittman had hired Dustin to either kill the defendant and their son Bert, or to make it look like it was a murder-suicide that the defendant killed Bert and then herself. Dr. Pittman will tell you he didn't even know Dustin Weedy.
Tracey Richter bought the pink notebook. She lured Dustin over that day. Her friend turned up, so she had to make up an excuse for them to leave. Then, when Dustin came back over later that...
Something really cool that I love good police work. Oh, I get so excited. So, I don't know if you already know this, but one thing they'll do is if there's a unique item in the case, for example, a pink notebook, they take that UPC code, and especially for small towns, because we're in Iowa, they found every store that carries that notebook within the area, and then they run the UPC code to see which batch it is, and they can figure out, okay, this was bought in the last 60 days, the last 90 days. And then they go and find all of the records of that UPC code being sold, and then they go check the credit cards of the CCTV footage. So they can figure out exactly
who bought it.
Yes. Yeah, and so like in the Grace Milane case, they were able to find the suitcase, obviously, but there was no other place that sold that suitcase because it was specifically and what the fuck is a suitcase store, you know? So I think that's so cool. I love good police work. Okay, all right.
Wow.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
That day, she held him at gunpoint and forced him to write all that stuff in the journal, saying he had been hired by John Pittman. Then she killed him and planted the book in his car. Dustin was shot in the head for the last time 10 minutes after the previous shot. Tracey wanted to make sure he was dead before the police arrived. Tracey said she was choked out by pantyhose. Yeah, that didn't match her injuries. She just made up everything.
Verdict form number 1, we the jury find the defendant, Tracey Ann Richter, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree. Is that your verdict?
Oh, don't cry now, Tracey.
The defense counsel
sad she got caught.
Dude, how is she surprised though? Like, think about all the awful stuff she's done that we don't know about.
Right when she was found guilty on the 4th of November 2011. Nope, she's got more shit up her sleeve. On the 5th of December 2011, Tracey was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I've gone through every what if in my head and every possible scenario on how things maybe could have ended up differently.
I do believe that you deserve justice. I really do. But I didn't murder your son.
Huh?
In prison, she became best buds, pen pals, with a convicted child rapist named Jim Landa. They wrote creepy letters to each other, and in one letter she sent him, she gave him enough information to be able to find Michael Roberts and her own 2 kids, and was basically like, well, if something happens, you know, wink wink. She also tried, from prison, to destroy the reputations of those she said wrong.
Uncomfy.
There was a site called Ripoff Report. It doesn't seem to exist anymore, but basically a person can publish a complaint which then stays up. If the accused person wants the complaint to be removed, a $2,000 non-refundable fee has to be paid, and the evidence of the falseness of this complaint has to be presented. So basically anybody can post anything about anyone
yeah, it used
and
to
make
be online.
shite
I
of your
remember that
reputation.
site.
John Pittman and Michael Roberts were both highly impacted by this. Tracey's son Bert, it seems she had quite a lot of control over him. She used him as a pawn then to get information about John and Michael. As for Michael Roberts, back in 2011 he got full custody of the children and moved to California with them.
Oh,
his plan was to move back to Australia, but that plan was shattered when Tracey was convicted, and it was ruled that she had visitation rights with the children.
Oh, no.
Then in 2014, after another long battle, Michael and his family successfully moved back to Brisbane, Australia.
Okay.
They are now, safe from Tracey. They got away.
Happy ending.
Not everybody was that fortunate.
December of 2000, Tracey assaulted me, physically assaulted me, and I told her at that point I was going to file for divorce. And 45 minutes later, I was in handcuffs. She attempted to murder me.
Oh my God. Is this the accent
Several
she copied
times.
too?
How did you do that? I had been systematically drugged over a period of time, I think maybe a minimum of a week, maybe a little bit more. And I thought I was having some sort of breakdown. I was off with the fairies. I did not know whether I was in reality or a dream state. And she said she wanted to do a trust exercise with me. And I thought, that's like fall over backwards, she'll catch me. And I'm like, whatever's going to save this marriage. And she had rolled me up in a king-size cotton sheets. And when I woke up, I was in a cocoon state. And she was sitting on top of me, and I had a plastic bag over my head.
Oh my God.
Wait, how did he not
She asked me
die?
to take deep breaths until I pass out. She would then take the bag off my head. I would wake up, and I would trust her forever because I would know that she could have killed me. And yet
Okay, no.
No, there is a movement,
no.
albeit
What?
small, that says
No.
Tracey is innocent. She is wrongfully convicted.
Oh, we get a divorce
must
after
have
that.
told Dustin about John Pittman, and Dustin really did try and kill her. This is led by Bert Pittman, now Bert Richter. There's also another man some have said, could have been the second intruder, but he was cleared
That's
by
a
the police.
hypersophiliac.
And I don't believe she's been wrongfully
We're doing
convicted.
hypersophiliacs today, right?
What does that
She
even mean?
absolutely
That
destroyed
guy,
the lives
that
of
man.
many
I'll tell you
people,
right after.
entire families, her own family, even, and ultimately destroyed her own life as well by bringing it all upon herself. So I guess you kind of could say, right, this has a happy ending.
Yeah, happy ending.
Thank you so much for watching.
That's it. Okay,
I appreciate it.
Hybris,
And
I paused. Do you have to untense? So the guy at the end, you saw that Free Tracey Richter page. Tracy's a convicted killer, so I feel okay saying
Appreciate
Tracy
you
did
for
it, and Tracy's a bad person.
Uh-huh.
The guy that was in that picture was usually when people are convicted, they have fans. Hybristophiliacs are people that are incredibly damaged and essentially they feel like they have low self-worth and they don't really know their place in the world. So they will try to connect with a murderer because it makes them feel important or protected or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.